Welcome to Topics and Issues. I'm your host, Monica Renee, and today's topic is going to be about ways to deal with breakups. Some of my viewers emailed me a couple of questions that I'm going to go over today. And today I'm joined by Katrina Jones. Katrina has joined me many times, and I thought that it would be a good idea to bring Katrina on as a co-host, and she's a life coach, because I have a lot of different opinions and a lot of different topics I'm going to be talking about. And by her being a life coach, she's a really good asset to the show. So Katrina is now my co-host. Thanks for joining me again, Katrina.
Thank you, Monica.
Okay, Katrina, as I said, some of the viewers emailed me ways to deal with breakups. And one of the questions was, if you spend most of the time with your mate, once you break up, how can you occupy your time? I think everybody has a hobby. With me, I like to shop and I like to groom myself. So I love clothes, I love fashion, I love hair, I love nails. So I feel like if I were to break up with somebody that I've been with for a long time and I'm used to being with them, the way that I would occupy my time is with grooming myself.
Okay.
So that way I can always be doing something that I enjoy doing, and that way it takes my mind off of that person, for a certain amount of time. And then I think once you do that enough, once you get into hobbies and stuff that you like to do, eventually it'll get easier to you, as time passes, and then, eventually you'll get over it. That's what I think about that. But what do you think about that? If you spend most of your time with somebody and then you guys break up, how do you occupy your time?
Monica, I think it's great that you mentioned that, you do have hobbies. And, these are hobbies that you had before you got into the relationship.
Right.
And it sounds like what I hear you saying, that these are hobbies that you continued, even through the duration of the relationship, and that's really healthy. That's very healthy. And I think where sometimes we run into problems or we run into challenges is when we have hobbies or things that we were doing before our relationships, and then we get into a relationship and that person that we are in relationship with becomes all-consuming.
Right.
And instead of us, keeping up some of the activities that we were doing before we got into relationship with our mate, we stopped those activities, or we stopped hanging around some of those friends that we used to hang around, and now everything that I do is strictly and exclusively with this other individual, so that if I'm no longer in relationship with this person, then the things that define me as the individual that I am cease to exist.
Right.
No longer exist. And I think that's that's often a problem. Also, a lot of us don't really develop hobbies.
Right.
Right. A lot of people, they work, they come home, or they're at home and not really doing anything with their time. And so a lot of people haven't taken the time to ask themselves the question, what do I enjoy? Or if they don't know what they would enjoy, just taking the time to do some exploration.
Right.
Going to the metro parks and walking to see, do I enjoy being in the outdoors, or, going bowling, or, looking up different meetings or groups that they could become involved with to interact with other people, because what you're really talking about is social. When there's a breakup and all my time has been spent around being with this person, and then that person is no longer, we're no longer a couple, then I'm socially isolated.
Right.
And, that's just a really unhealthy space to be in. So, again, what you said, having hobbies before, that have nothing to do with the relationship is really a healthy place to be.
I think another thing with that is if you have friends, I think that it's important to keep a good relationship with your friends, because a lot of people that I know, they get into relationships and then they kind of get caught up so much in the relationships that they kind of, you know, stray away from their friends just a little bit. So I think that's another thing, just to, you know, keep your relationships with your friends the same, so that way if you ever break up and most of your time is spent with your mate, then you have your friends that are there to support you as well.
Yeah.
Okay, Katrina, this question came from a male, and he said, if your mate does something deeply to affect you, do you have to forgive them in order to give the next person that you're with a fair chance? I say yes, because I feel that everybody is not the same. Now, I think that you should learn from your relationships and pay attention to signs and be cautious going into the next situation, but I don't think that you should take something from a prior relationship into a new relationship. I think that you should start off with a clean slate and give the new person a fair chance, because the new person hasn't done anything, you know, to hurt you. So that's what I feel about that. But what do you think about that?
You know, I agree. You know, I totally agree with what you said. But that, you know, if I were coaching that individual, I would ask him, you know, what is his, you know, I would ask him to elaborate in more detail to me about what his thoughts are about that question, because just because of how he asked the question, it does seem like he may tend to believe that that's so. You know, and forgiveness is not about the other person. A lot of people have trouble forgiving because they believe that, well, if I forgive this person and I'm putting them off the hook, you know, then they're off the hook for what they did to me, and that is not what forgiveness is about.
Right.
You know, forgiveness it means that no longer am I carrying the weight of you know, holding a resentment towards a person, a place, or a situation. And it frees me to be able to move forward in my life. And every time a situation comes up that reminds me of something that I have a resentment for, I'm not reverting back to old behavior. So forgiveness is really important. And another thing that I would like to mention is that, you know, in a relationship, that's a relationship that is pretty deep on a lot of levels. But everything that we do is relational. Whether we are passing by an individual and saying hi, how you doing, good morning, whether we're dealing with coworkers, whether, you know, everything that we do is relational. And the degree of relation, you know, has to do with the type of relationships that we're dealing with. So if we can begin to let go or forgive people that for small things, you know, like somebody looked at me and you know, my assumption is that they don't like me, or they don't like what you know, if I learn how to let that kind of stuff go, you know, if I began to practice forgiveness on a small level and in daily doses, you know, because if we kind of think about it, every day we've got something that we can, at the end of the day, say, you know what, in the scheme of things, this wasn't that bad, or it wasn't really big. So if we can learn how to forgive in daily doses, was what I call it, it becomes a little easier to forgive when we feel like somebody's real, you know, when the act that we perceive somebody has done to us gets deeper, such as in a relationship. So, yeah, I would agree with you. Forgiveness is very important in order to move forward in our life, you know, and to be happy. Also, this is one that I really wanted to touch on. The question is, why is it that some people blame themselves for the other person cheating? Now, here's what I think about this. You can't blame yourself for the actions of somebody else. If somebody wanted to cheat, they cheated because they wanted to. It's not your fault. And it's like me taking you to a restaurant. We go to the restaurant, we sit down, and we get into our dinner. Now, the food isn't good, but I can't say, oh, you know, Katrina's food was bad because I took her to this restaurant. I'm not the cook. You can't blame yourself for what somebody else does. So I don't understand that myself either, but some people do. What do you think about that, Katrina? You know, I believe that a lot of things have to do with how we feel about ourselves.
Mhm.
And the better I feel about myself, the higher esteem that I regard myself in,
Mhm.
the easier it is for me to, have boundaries and to be able to say that was not my stuff. That person chose to not be with me, but that was their choice.
Right.
That was their choice. And, when you talk about relationships, a lot of times you're talking about boundaries. And knowing it's important for me and it's healthy for me to know where my boundaries end and your boundaries begin.
Right, right.
When I'm coaching, a lot of times I'll say to the person, is that your business? What somebody else did, is that your business? And if it's not your business, mind your own business.
Right, right.
Because if I put the focus on me, then I don't have time to really be, I don't really have time to be trying to dictate how somebody else chooses to behave.
Okay.
And the reality, the truth is that it's a 24-hour job for me trying to keep my side of the sidewalk clean.
Right.
For me doing what I need to do to be healthy. So I'm responsible for my own choices and my own actions.
Right.
And, even if I have truly done something to cause a rift in a relationship, it's still that person's choice to be able to say, I choose not to be your friend, or I choose not to be with you. That's their choice.
Okay.
It's the same as it's my choice to be able to say, I choose to stay in this relationship with you, or I don't want to be in this relationship with you anymore.
Right.
It's a choice.
Right.
And everybody has that choice.
Cheating is a choice.
Everything is a choice.
Right.
Cheating is a choice. Staying in a relationship, staying in an unhealthy relationship is a choice. So, but it's not about, if a person makes a decision, it's about them. That was their decision. That's not my stuff. That's not about me.
Okay. And this is another question that I got. Some couples stay together, but they can't trust each other. Why is that? This is my opinion on that. Some people stay together because even though they don't trust each other, they still love each other. It's some people in families that you really can't trust, but that doesn't mean that you don't love them, But the only issue with that is I think that relationships are built on trust. And if you can't trust whoever it is that you with, it's always going to be a problem. It's always going to be a problem. So I think that people in that situation should work on building their trust, because if not, it's always going to be a problem. That's my opinion on the trust issue. What do you think about that, Katrina?
Well, Monica, again, if I were coaching someone and that question came, and that it came up, I would have to ask them to really evaluate what is it about that relationship that is keeping them there. If they were to have a piece of paper and draw a line down the middle of that piece of paper and put pros, reasons why I should stay, and on the other side of that paper write reasons why I shouldn't stay. I think it's really important for us to really know why we stay in relationships. What are the advantages of being in a relationship?
Okay.
What are the disadvantages of being in a relationship? And if the disadvantages, outweigh the advantages, then that's something for a person to think about. Because credibility, credibility is all about trust. And if I can't trust you, then we don't have a solid foundation to grow on.
Exactly.
But that person who may be feeling insecurities with those trust issues, the person who's feeling those concerns, that's the person that really needs to figure out, why are they what's the value of being in the relationship.
All right.
And if the pros if the pros outweigh the cons.
Mhm. Right.
Yeah.
Okay, Katrina, this question came from a teenage girl. She's in high school. Mm-hmm. She wanted to know, is a breakup even harder to do if you share mutual friends? I think that it depends on the type of friends that you have. If you have really good friends, they're not going to, cause any drama or maybe put things in your ear about whoever it is you broke up with because you guys are friends. So I think it depends. If you have good friends, I don't think that a breakup would be hard to do if you have mutual friends, if you guys share mutual friends. Mm-hmm. So that's my opinion on that. Mm-hmm. What do you think, Katrina?
I think that's a very challenging situation to be in.
Really?
I think it can be.
Oh, okay.
I think it can be, and I think that it all depends on. I think it depends on, everything is relational. Mm-hmm. And so I think it depends on how I think it depends on if I break up with someone, mm-hmm. and we had mutual friends, if those relationships can remain healthy, if those relationships can remain healthy despite the breakup, then that's a positive thing.
Now, when you say if those relationships can remain healthy, do you mean if a couple goes together, mm-hmm. and they have mutual friends, do you think their breakup can cause a rift between all of the friendships? Is that what you're saying?
I think everything is relational.
Okay.
I think everything is relational, and those mutual friends, I may have been with this person for years.
Right.
And they may have been his friends before they were my friends.
Oh. Okay.
They may have been his friends before they were or they may have been my friends before they were his friends, and so they may feel uncomfortable.
Right.
So it just, it's not a cookie cutter approach. Mm-hmm. But what I would say is, if you can, if healthy, and I think healthy is the main, buzzword that I want to use here. If healthy relationships can remain with the friends, and if the two people can be healthy, mm-hmm. Towards each other, then it's a good thing. But what happens when we can't be healthy with each other in our relationship, and we're going to events where our friends are, we're going to mutual places with our friends, mm-hmm. where our friends hang out, and there's all this tension.
Right.
Right. That's not healthy.
Right.
It's not healthy. So, I think that, how healthy a relationship can remain, whether it's with that mate after the breakup, as well as with those individuals, mm-hmm. Determines if that relationship should be lasting. Okay. Because the truth is, a lot of times, there are times where we hold on to relationships that are not healthy. Toxic relationships, mm-hmm. and all that kind of stuff. So I think healthy is the key. Okay. To maintaining healthy relationships.
Okay. And this is another question that I got. Can you be friends with your ex? And if so, would your new mate feel comfortable? My opinion on this, it depends on the situation. I don't want to see anybody hate each other or any risk between each other, but if it was like an abusive relationship, I wouldn't say, be friends with that person. But that also, if you were maybe married, and then you guys are married for years, and then, you're really close with their family, I think that you guys should be friends and cordial, because at once you share a family. Mm-hmm. Also, I think if there are children involved, you should be friends. Mm-hmm. And I think that your new mate would understand that. So I think it depends on the situation.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if there's no ties and it was maybe an unhealthy relationship, I say don't be friends because I wouldn't see the point. But other than that, I think that it's okay, and I think that you know, your new mate should understand that.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think?
You know, I think it's really good when people can separate and maintain healthy relationships with each other. You know, because ideally, if you were friends with that person, you know, before you get intimate, then, you know, hopefully those same characteristics and qualities and traits that you like about that person before you started dating them, you still admire those traits and characteristics. You know, relationships, should people remain in relationships, it's good if they can. You know, absolutely, but you don't have any control over how somebody else is going to respond, you know, to a situation that they walk into. I think boundaries are important too. And it takes a lot of maturity,
right,
to be able to have a healthy relationship, and then to maintain a healthy relationship, because there's a lot of give and take, you know, and a lot of sacrifices that have to be made on both parts, and a lot of communication, a lot of transparency, you know, being open and honest, so that, you know, of course, it's the ideal situation when a new person, a new mate, or a new boyfriend, girlfriend, you know, spouse, can come into a relationship or develop a relationship, and the ex is still involved, especially when they're children. You know, especially when they're children. You know, it takes a lot of maturity.
It does. It does.
A lot of maturity.
Okay, Katrina, this is a tough one. This question says, how long should you give yourself before you date again? I think it depends on the person, because some people can get over a relationship like that, but then some it takes longer than others. So with me, I would say you should give yourself as long as you need. I don't think that it should be a time limit on that. What do you think?
You know what? I agree that everybody is different. You know, everybody is different. But I know that, you know, a lot of times it takes a little bit of time to kind of reflect on whether it was a healthy split or unhealthy split. Sometimes it takes a little bit of time to kind of figure out, you know, what part did I play in this, or, you know, what do I need to do differently, or, you know, just to kind of give yourself a time to heal. Right. You know, sometimes it does take a little bit of time. Now, who's to say how much time? That is an individual stand. Right. Or, you know, that's individual. But, you know, I do believe that, we should take a little bit of time, sometime. And it's up to the individual to reflect how, you know, to determine how much that is. But I think that we do need a little bit of time to kind of do some reflection and to heal. To heal. Right. Because anytime, you know, even a friendship, you know, with a friendship, it's a loss. Right. You know, whenever something breaks or leaves you, it's a loss, and I think that we need to kind of honor that and take time to heal. Right. Me too, Katrina. Okay, this is the last thing, and it's kind of a final thought. I think the most important thing about any type of relationship is just to understand, you know, and to learn from your experiences, and just remember that everybody is not the same. I think that's one of the most important things to remember about a relationship, whether it's a friendship or, you know, whether it's a couple. I think that's the most important thing to learn. You have anything to add to that, Katrina? You know what? I would agree with that, Monica. And, you know, I would just also say that, you know, relationships are, you know, everything is relational. And so when we learn how to develop a relationship with ourselves, you know, when we learn how to be okay with being by ourselves, then it becomes easier for us to be in relationships with other people.
Right.
So I think that we need to learn how to be happy. And if we can learn how to be happy without being in a relationship, then when we get into a healthy relationship, it's just icing on the cake.
I say that all the time. I say that all the time. All right, Katrina. Well, this was a really, really good conversation. If you guys have any topics or issues that you would like me and Katrina to discuss, just email me at topicsandissues with MonicaRenee@gmail.com. We'll see you next time.